Hi everyone, and welcome to There's No Such Thing as Normal, a podcast about neurodiversity, disability, and mental health. I'm Lou, your host, and I'm neurodivergent myself, and I'm also completely blind. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about ADHD and memory. So I'll sort of go into why ADHD can affect memory and how, and also sort of the strategies that you can use to help yourself and hopefully make life easier. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So, all of us forget things. It's not as if it's a specific challenge with ADHD. Whether you're ADHD or not, you're going to forget stuff. We all do as humans. But if you are ADHD, then you might find you're forgetting things more often than others, or that you struggle with your memory and organization, because that is a core component of ADHD. Have you been sitting there, maybe relaxing, trying to chill out, and all of a sudden you just have these awful feelings of dread because you know that you've forgotten something? I mean, I had this a little while back. I was meditating and I suddenly jumped a foot in the air because I was like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be on my counselling, which I do once a week or online. But anyway, I was just half an hour late, which was really bad, and to be honest, it's quite unusual for me, but I'm sure we've all been there, done that. But there's nothing worse, or that sinking feeling of dread that you've forgotten something, or have you ever forgotten an appointment, or where you've put things? I mean, oh my goodness, I'm sure I spend half of my life looking for stuff, and it's so boring and it's so frustrating, and it's honestly so stressful looking for things all the time. I mean, I'm blind, so I have to really try and remember where I put stuff because, I basically can't see where I put things, so I have to have special places. But, I think my favourite thing in the whole world is the fact that I've got an Apple Watch, and I can make my phone ping. It's like a ping my phone from my watch, so that when I can't find my phone, I can make it make a sound, which is amazing because otherwise I'm just always looking for that. So yeah, hunting for things, or when you're having a conversation and you literally are like, what has that person said? Or somebody sat there and been talking to you, and you just know what were they on about? I have no idea. Or you end up having a disagreement with somebody because they claim to you that they've told you something. I told you this. I've told you this earlier, and you're like, no, you didn't say that. I don't remember. Or you thought someone said something different, and that's just super duper annoying. So there's loads of different things that could be, forgotten. I mean, infinite amount of things that could be forgotten. If I went through everything, we'd be here all day. Basically, yes, we forget things, and it's frustrating. And it has a big impact on self-worth because you start beating yourself up and feeling like you're failing and getting angry with yourself and getting cross and wound up, and it's just stressful. So why does this happen, and what's actually going on here? So I'll kind of just give a bit of a basic overview. I'm not a memory expert. I'm not some sort of expert in memory and everything, but I know stuff from research. So it kind of comes down to you've got the short-term memory and the working memory, which are quite similar, and then you've got your long-term memory. So let's talk about what each of those are. So your short-term memory is the kind of the first step in forming a memory. So, for example, if somebody were to give you a list of 5 items on a shopping list, and we're like, right, go to the shop and get bread, milk, eggs, cheese, and a chocolate cake. Right, that is now going to be in your short-term memory because it's just been told to you. But the short-term memory has its limitations. It only lasts for 30 seconds. So after 30 seconds, the memory will either be gone, because in fact a huge amount of things that enter our brains are just, in and out, because we physically can't take in every single second of every single day into long-term memory, and it can only hold 5 to 9 pieces of information. they say 7 plus or minus 2, which basically means 5 to 9. So you can see how this has limitations. So either memories are stored in long-term memories, which I'll get onto in a minute, or they basically, just disappear. The working memory is kind of similar to short-term. It's linked, but it's basically the short-term memory will hold the information. So say 5 numbers, 2, 6, 9, 11 and 21. But then the working memory is the sort of manipulation of that information. So with the working memory, you can then, maybe add up the numbers or subtract them or reorder them. Do you see what I mean? It's kind of the part that's going to, manipulate that information and use it. Sort of, if you think of working memory, it's working with the information. That's the way I'd remember it. So it's working memory that works with the information. So it's complicated. The brain just has to do all this stuff. So then, of course, you've got the long-term memory, and that's basically anything that the brain has taken in, and past 30 seconds, a memory will be long-term memory. So even if it's something that happened 5 minutes ago, so it's like I had my breakfast probably 20 minutes ago, and I can remember what I ate, and it was yummy, but that is now a long-term memory, even though it was only 20 minutes ago, because it doesn't matter whether it's 20 minutes ago or 20 years ago. It's all long-term memory, because the short-term memory, as I say, is only 30 seconds ish. So what happens then is that our memories that we want to keep, or that are deemed important by the brain, are processed and stored as long-term memories. So they go from the short-term memory into the long-term memory, right? But it involves many steps, and I'll go through them. But it's easy to understand or realise why that could go wrong. So the brain has to arrange and reorder the information so that it makes sense. So it has to kind of encode it, work it out, sort it out. Then it has to keep updating and replacing the information. So, out with the old and in with the new, all of that malarkey. So yes, there's a lot of reordering that's going on and updating. It's almost like a computer that needs to just keep its software up to date. And then there's dual processing, which is where you're having to keep information in your mind whilst doing other things. We can see how this one might be impacted by ADHD, because, I don't know, we're often doing many things at once. But it's, say you're having a conversation with somebody, but you're also, I don't know, walking or cooking or, somewhere. So it's having to hold that information but whilst doing something else. So, sometimes the information is encoded, taken in a disorganised way. So it's kind of just not really, gone in the right way. It's just maybe, just jumbled up or something, and it didn't enter the long-term memory. So a lot of this it's not so much with ADHD that we have a problem with our memory. It's more that the brain often just doesn't take things in properly. So it's not that there's a problem with the actual memory or the brain. It's just literally that the memories aren't either taken in at all, so they're completely just lost, or they were taken in but in a disorganized way. So why? I think a big one is that if you're distracted, which we often are, then that can have a big impact on the memory process, because you're talking away to somebody and doing something else, or the brain is just so noisy, chatty and messy, it feels like, that things just haven't gone in quite right or at all. If you're overwhelmed, then of course stress and anxiety have an impact on that. You can't take things in when you're stressed or overwhelmed, because the thinking part of the brain, the processing and the logical brain have sort of just switched off. So that's definitely going to have an impact. So I mean, there's loads of other reasons why you could be struggling with memory or remembering things. So, it could be any other mental health challenges, stress or trauma or depression, or lack of sleep. I mean, your brain literally needs to sleep to remember. So if you're struggling to sleep, that's definitely going to be a cause. And there's lots of medical things like a lack of certain vitamins, medications, menopause, under or overactive thyroids. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that you'd want to talk to a doctor about. But really, if you're sitting there thinking, oh goodness, well, how do I know if this is just ADHD or something else? When did it start? I mean, if you've always had particular challenges remembering things or being organised, then yeah, definitely going to be ADHD. Whereas if it's sort of just randomly come on suddenly, then you'd be like, oh, okay. So maybe you could think about, has anything changed? Have I started a new medication, or has my sleep been really bad, or am I really stressed? Just sort of thinking about that. But yeah, I mean, you've always got to talk to your doctor about these things, but generally there can be, like all things in life, many causes. So yeah, it is really, really common. And I suppose just to recap, it's about the way the memories are taken in, the way they're stored, the way they're processed. So it's just about the way that the brain is organising itself, things like distractions and being overwhelmed and lack of sleep and all those sorts of things. So, I mean, now it's, what do we do about it? Well, I think the first thing is you need to stop beating yourself up, and I need to work on this as well, because it is frustrating, but then getting cross with yourself about forgetting things and being disorganized and stuff like that isn't going to help at all. It's just going to make things worse. You really got to just try and be more gentle with yourself and just accept that, okay, this is difficult, it's happened again, I forgot this again, oh, it's annoying, but it's not your fault. It is just one of those things. And now I'm going to get on to organisation tools, and you're going to say, and you're going to be thinking, listening to this, oh my goodness, not that old chestnut again. Really? I've heard it all before. But honestly, listen up, because hopefully I can actually give you something useful that isn't just get a calendar. But funnily enough, the first one is using a calendar. However, before you just completely stop this podcast and run away because you're like, no, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing that. I actually don't even have a calendar. Well, I have a calendar, but I don't use it. I actually just rely on lists. I use a lot of lists, and I use reminders because that works better for me. Because to be honest, the whole shenanigans of literally having to open my phone and open the calendar app, then I have to add, and then I have to choose the start date and the end date and the time and write in the title. Oh my goodness, I honestly can't be doing with that. I don't have the time, I don't have the patience. But there are lots of potential, ADHD friendly calendars. I would just suggest, researching that. I have the problem as well, especially with I can't use paper calendars because I'm blind and I can't write with a pen and a pencil. I use Braille, so that ticks off a lot of physical calendars for me, and also a lot of the apps aren't overly accessible. But ADHD friendly calendars, alarms and timers and reminders, as I say. So what I'll do, if I need to remember something, I have my Apple Watch, so I will literally speak to it. I use Siri and I'll say, remind me to recharge my power bank at 6 p.m. tonight. Well, I did that the other day, and for some weird reason the power bank didn't even charge. How annoying. But because of my lovely little reminder, I did remember to plug my power bank in. So even though it was still not charged in the morning by some weird reason that's unknown, at least I plugged it in. That helps. So yeah, using a smartwatch or your phone, if you've got Siri or you've got Alexa. Oh my god, I really hope I haven't set mine off. That would be really annoying. No, I think she's quiet over there. Use Alexa. I'm not going to keep saying it because I'll set mine off again. It's just really helpful because you can just say it. You don't even need to open an app. You don't need to find your calendar. You don't even need to look at it. You can literally just say, remind me at this time. And it really works because it's so simple, and it doesn't even take any executive functioning or, any crazy thought processes. So yeah, organizational apps, as I say, lists. So I use the To Do. It's called the app called To Do. I think it's Microsoft, and I have a list for different things, and I find that really, really helpful. And again, it's super straightforward because I can literally just easily type, and it doesn't involve a multi-step process of the date, the time, the title, like a calendar would. So lists are good, especially, if it's a multi-step thing. So for example, if you're going to go on holiday and you're thinking, oh my God, I've got so much I need to pack and I need to organize, that's when a list would be useful, because you can sort of have this multi-step, list of a guide of what you need to do. How about things like sticky notes, post-it notes? You can stick them around, maybe in no good at all for me because I'm blind, but for everyone else it's great because you can stick a note here and stick a note there on the fridge or on the wall or literally in different areas so that you can then remember particular things. And then there are lots of different brain training activities, I suppose you could call them. So things like memory games where you've got to do sequencing and matching, concentration games. I think there's brain training apps, but it's really annoying for me. They don't seem to make those sorts of things very accessible. So yeah, I need a blind friendly brain training app. That would be cool. I think another little useful tip would be to repeat information that you want to stay. So sort of repeating and rehearsing it. So, if you've got to remember something, almost just keep telling yourself in your mind, right, we're doing this at this time. And if you keep doing that, what's happening? You're reinforcing that memory, so you're making it stick. And repetition is, of course, as I'm sure you know, a big way that we learn. So if we can repeat things again and again, then it will help us stick. And another one which I really like. So if you're, how do I explain this one? It's basically, if someone says something, it's good if they ask you to repeat it. So for example, if I said, you've got an appointment at 5:00, and then I'd say, right, can you repeat back to me what I just said? So it's kind of reinforcing that. So if you're, talking to somebody who's ADHD, get them to repeat back what you've said. So it's almost just saying, right, what did I just say? Just making them say what you've said helps it to stick, and it also checks that they're actually paying attention. So I think that's quite a good one, really. And then there's loads of funny little things like you've probably maybe done when you were studying for an exam or test or anything. There's like mnemonics, where you use tricks to sort of link new information to what you already know, or like turn things into a song. So at school you might have done songs to remember stuff. So yeah, just make up a little funny song. And to be honest, even the art of doing that is quite fun, and using that brain space to even put the effort in to make a song helps you remember, if you sort of mean. It's like, and even if you can't think of a song, sitting there with that information all that time trying to think of a song is probably just going to help anyway. You can chunk bigger pieces of information into smaller pieces by format or categories. It's almost like having categories. So like, I don't know, if you were going to go to the shop, you'd be like, rather than, I don't know, I'm just going to give you an example, a random list. Eggs, cheese, chicken, chips, beans, soup. You could be like, oh, okay, well, the frozen stuff. So then that would be the chips, oh dear, have I forgotten what my list was? Oh, I'm not setting a good example. Yeah, I think it was just the chips. And then you might be like, the meat. So then that'd be the chicken. And then you could say like poultry, chicken and eggs and cheese or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Sort of just having categories. I think, yeah, if you're gonna have a shopping list, then just write it down. Just don't even use it for that. I was giving sort of a bad example, but I was trying to give an example of how you could sort of categorizing information. You can use sort of acronyms where you use the first letters to sort of remembering things. Don't know, using rhythm, it's kind of like the song thing. I mean, there's loads of different things you can do. There's also the method of loci. Is it low? Yeah, LOCI. And it's again, it's really cool. It's like you imagine a house and you've got different rooms and you put different pieces of information into different rooms. So like you could have in the bathroom different things, and then in the kitchen, so you're sort of wandering around the house. I mean, these are the sorts of things that are used for studying, but there really isn't any reason why you can't use them for other things as well. There's no reason at all that you can't use all these little tips and tricks. So basically, there's loads of things you can do to help, lots of different options. So really, it's a case of, what are you going to do now? Are you going to finish this podcast and be like, oh, that was a good podcast, and then, move on to something else and forget that it ever existed? Or are you going to take on board what I've said, maybe listen over it, or guess what? Be extra organised and maybe even make some notes of the things you think might help you. So then it's actually helpful because, it's so easy to be like, oh, great ideas, Lou. What a brilliant podcast. No, it's not that great, honestly. But, putting the things into practice is half the battle. Well, in fact, I'd say it's 3/4 of the battle, really. Listening to it's easy, but taking on board the suggestions is quite something else. So really, it's been quite a lot of information. So your brain might be fizzing, because if I was listening to this podcast, I'd definitely be brain fizzed. So yeah, definitely I'd suggest listening back over it. But really, a little recap. I talked about the different parts of the memory and the challenges that us ADHD people can face and why we might struggle more, and then lots of different tips and tricks. A little memory test for you. Can you remember how many pieces of information the short-term memory holds? Can you remember? Well, if you want to find out, you'll have to rewind, because I'm not going to tell you. One more question. Can you remember at least 3 tips and tricks that I gave in this podcast? What are 3 different suggestions I gave you to help improve your memory? And again, I'm not going to tell you, so you'll have to go and listen back. Anyway, I hope you found it interesting and enjoyed it. I tried to make it a bit fun because I, can be a little bit factual or a bit boring, but no, I wanted to make it fun. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I've certainly enjoyed making it, and I hope it's useful and that you can take on board some suggestions. But anyway, I will be back soon with another episode. Bye for now.